U.S. banks are bleeding billions, not from a lack of talent or tech, but from what I'm calling their billion-dollar blind spot. They're literally hemorrhaging revenue from their most profitable clients, business owners. And it's not because they don't have the resources. Think about it. These banks are pouring money into AI, into new platforms, into hiring top-tier teams. But the issue is a deeply ingrained cultural architecture that's designed for product silos, not for the kind of integrated relationship economics that today's business owners demand. It's like they're trying to build a modern skyscraper with tools from the 1980s. This isn't just about losing a few deals. It's about fundamentally misunderstanding where the future of banking profitability lies. We're going to dig into exactly how this happened and, more importantly, what it means for anyone building a business in 2026. U.S. banks are hemorrhaging billions in revenue, not from a market crash or a new competitor, but from their most profitable client segment, business owners. It's a loss so vast, it's being called the billion-dollar blind spot. Think about that. We're talking about an industry that prides itself on precision, on maximizing every penny, yet they're systematically undermining their own top-tier clients. This isn't about a lack of talent or technology. It's not a resource problem. Instead, the core issue, as one report puts it, is a cultural architecture designed for product silos, not relationship economics. They're built for transactions, not for true partnership. This means banks, despite investing billions in commercial banking tools and hiring top-tier talent, are leaving an astonishing amount of money on the table. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar gap that no one is accurately measuring. It reminds me of the early days of the internet, when Blockbuster couldn't pivot from physical stores to streaming because their internal culture was too deeply entrenched in their existing model. Or when Kodak refused to embrace digital photography, despite inventing it, because film was their cash cow. This is a similar kind of strategic failure playing out in real time, right now, in one of the most foundational sectors of our economy. So how did they get here? And more importantly, what does this tell us about the blind spots in our own organizations, our own businesses, and even our own investments? We're going to dive deep into exactly what this blind spot is costing them, what it reveals about the pitfalls of siloed thinking, and what the savviest players are doing to turn this into a massive competitive advantage. Let's dig in. This isn't just about banks, though. Consider drug development, a gamble of immense scale, fraught with financial peril. Pharmaceutical giants like Pfizer or AstraZeneca face incredible financial risk. We're talking about a billion-dollar blind spot, where a single Phase 3 clinical trial for a new oncology drug, for instance, can easily run into hundreds of millions of dollars, a sum that could fund multiple smaller biotech startups. The success rate for drug candidates entering these trials is abysmal. Only 7.9% ultimately receive FDA approval from the initial investigational new drug, IND, application stage. Think about that. Nearly every 9 out of 10 drugs fail, even after massive investment in preclinical research and subsequent trial phases. This imprecision has ripple effects across the entire healthcare ecosystem. Drug Patent Watch, in an analytical piece published on April 22, 2025, titled "The Billion-Dollar Blind Spot in Pharmaceutical Research," explicitly identified traditional drug spend forecasting as a multi-billion-dollar blind spot. This failure to accurately predict future drug costs severely impacts pharmaceutical finance and broader healthcare planning. For payers like United Healthcare and pharmacy benefit managers, PBMs, such as CVS Caremark, this imprecision hinders crucial decisions affecting formulary design, premium calculations, and budgetary allocations. It leads to unforeseen expenditures, disrupting entire healthcare systems. On May 7th, Gilead Sciences alone disclosed $11.5 billion in acquisition charges for 3 recent deals, then placed multi-billion-dollar bets on similar drug technology just days later. A clear bet on potential, not proof. What this teaches us is that even with all the scientific rigor, there's still a massive disconnect in how we manage and predict the financial and operational outcomes of R&D. And this problem isn't confined to finance or drug development, because there's also the human element, overlooked and overpowered. This isn't just about banks, though. Consider drug development, a gamble of immense scale, fraught with financial peril. Pharmaceutical giants like Pfizer or AstraZeneca face incredible financial risk. We're talking about a billion-dollar blind spot, where a single phase 3 clinical trial for a new oncology drug, for instance, can easily run into hundreds of millions of dollars. A sum that could the human element is perhaps the most overlooked billion-dollar blind spot of all. Aggressive automation, when implemented without strategic human resource consideration, has backfired significantly for major corporations. Take Ford. The automaker recently admitted to a costly mistake after replacing veteran engineers with AI-driven quality systems. They had to rehire over perhaps thousands, of human engineers because the technology simply couldn't replicate the nuanced experience and problem-solving capabilities of their long-term staff. It's a stark reminder that while technology offers immense promise, it cannot fully replace human experts. Raylan Douglas exposes this same blind spot in healthcare. She argues the staggering cost of losing experienced staff is invisible, fragmented, and normalized. This isn't just a morale issue, it's a financial hemorrhage. Similarly, Haishia Atherton, in her Billion-Dollar Blind Spot article, identifies the profit gap no one is measuring. She asserts that traditional leadership, fixated solely on outputs, completely misses the invisible human costs of fear, burnout, and disengagement, which silently erode performance and profit margins. We see this play out across industries. It teaches us that underestimating human capital comes with a steep price, just as we're seeing with banking's billions draining away. U.S. banks are hemorrhaging billions in revenue, not from a market crash or a new competitor, but from their most profitable client segment, business owners. It's a loss so vast, it's being called the billion-dollar blind spot. Think about that. We're talking about an industry that prides itself on precision, on maximizing every penny, yet they're systematically undermining their own top-tier clients. This isn't about talent or a lack of advanced tech. It's not like the banks aren't throwing money at the problem, investing heavily in commercial tools and technologies. No, as the article The Billion-Dollar Blind Spot, How Process Widens the Revenue Gap, published in April 2025, points out, the core issue is a cultural architecture designed for product silos, not relationship economics. This cultural architecture is the real culprit. Instead of a seamless experience, business owners are forced to navigate a labyrinth of departments, one for lending, another for treasury, yet another for wealth management. Each silo has its own targets, its own processes, and often, its own software. For example, a mid-sized construction company trying to get a commercial loan might be working with one relationship manager, while their CFO is separately trying to set up a new payroll system with a different team, completely unaware of the other's efforts. This fragmented approach means banks are failing to capture the full lifetime value of these high-value clients. It's a failure to connect the dots, an internal focus on product over client relationships that perpetuates these massive revenue losses. It's a classic example of what Frederick Ediemble, writing in May 2025, calls the strategy blind spot, where organizations mistakenly believe they're being strategic while merely refining existing operations. This billion-dollar blind spot isn't just about financial drains, though the numbers are staggering. McKinsey estimated that companies waste 10 to 15% of their capital on initiatives that fail to deliver strategic value. It's also about a dangerous illusion of progress, a self-deception that permeates even the most data-driven organizations. Frederick Ediemble, writing for Strategy Plus Business just this past May 30th, coined the term the strategy blind spot, pointing out that organizations often trick themselves into thinking they're strategizing when they're really just tweaking what they already do. It's like Ford applying a fresh coat of paint and some infotainment upgrades to a decade-old platform and calling it a revolutionary new model. Rita McGrath, a professor at Columbia Business School and a renowned expert on transient advantage, put it even more sharply, saying, most strategic planning exercises are budgeting in a Halloween costume. She's absolutely right. Companies get so caught up in the relentless grind of quarterly earnings calls, operational fires, and achieving incremental efficiencies, perhaps boosting Q3 sales by 1.5% through minor product variations, that they just keep optimizing their existing business. They're stuck in this cycle, refining the known instead of exploring the truly new. Think of a Blockbuster video store in 2005, meticulously optimizing its late fee collection processes and DVD inventory management to squeeze out every last dollar, while Netflix was building out its mail-order DVD empire and quietly laying the groundwork for streaming, a technology that would render Blockbuster's entire model obsolete within a few short years. Blockbuster was fantastic at running its core business, but that operational focus blinded them to an entirely different path. This narrow focus means missing huge market shifts, disruptive technologies like AI and quantum computing, and, ultimately, it leads to stagnant growth and market irrelevance. And that brings us to another hidden cost: leadership's own liabilities. U.S. banks are hemorrhaging billions in revenue, not from a market crash, but from their most profitable clients, business owners. This loss is so vast, it's being called the billion-dollar blind spot. An industry priding itself on precision is systematically undermining its top-tier clientele. This blind spot isn't just about financial drains, though the numbers are staggering. McKinsey estimates companies waste 10 to 15% of their capital on initiatives that fail to deliver strategic value. It's also a dangerous illusion of progress, permeating even the most data-driven organizations. Perhaps the biggest billion-dollar blind spot lies in leadership itself. The 15th Strategy and Annual Study reveals forced CEO successions alone cost large companies an estimated $112 billion in market value. Success, ironically, often creates its own blind spots. As Robert Bruce Shaw, with a PhD in organizational behavior from Yale, points out in his book Leadership Blind Spots, early wins can foster an overconfidence where leaders assume their instincts are right most of the time. This causes leaders to stop asking critical questions, dismissing early warning signs that escalate into systemic issues. Mark Murphy, senior contributor for Forbes, highlighted this, emphasizing how initial instincts, while effective in a startup, become liabilities as an organization scales. Take the do-it-all mindset of many entrepreneurs. While vital for getting off the ground, failing to delegate effectively becomes a critical issue, creating bottlenecks and stalling growth as the company becomes more complex. This teaches us that the very traits that create success in one stage can become massive liabilities in the next. The truth is, these billion-dollar blind spots aren't just about the immediate financial hemorrhage. They're symptomatic of deeper, systemic failures, an inability to truly see beyond the immediate horizon, to critically self-assess, and to adapt before the market forces you to. Whether it's banks overlooking their most profitable clients, pharma companies stuck in outdated R&D models, or organizations mistaking incremental refinement for genuine strategy, the real cost isn't just lost revenue. It's stifled innovation, talent drain as smart people leave frustrating systems, and ultimately, a compromised long-term viability. This isn't just about finding the missing billions. It's about building organizations that are resilient, introspective, and genuinely forward-looking. Have you ever worked in a company that had one of these clear, obvious, blind spots that leadership just couldn't or wouldn't see? Drop your stories in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear them. If you're interested in understanding these hidden forces shaping business and tech in 2026 and beyond, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you found this breakdown valuable, my deep dive into how legacy industries are using AI to rethink their entire operational structure is exactly the next thing you should watch.